welcome to the channel for my Premier League predictions. Game week 34. Game week 33 was an exciting games. Going to this game week 34, I'm looking out for spot on predictions. My name is Andy Finer. My like target for this video is just 50 likes. Like, comment your thoughts, your predictions at the comment section. Without wasting much of your time, let's get into the game week 34 predictions. Starting off the first game in game week 34 is at the Etihad Stadium between Manchester City versus Aston Villa. Manchester City going into this game, they are coming from a 2-0 victory they got in game week 33 against Everton at the Goodison Park in game week 33. And Aston Villa too is coming from a 4-1 victory over Newcastle United in game week 33 at the Villa Park. Going into this game at the Etihad Stadium in game week 34 between Manchester City and Aston Villa. At the moment, looking at Manchester City on the Premier League table, Man City are now 5th on the Premier League table with 58 points out of 33 games. Aston Villa too is now 7th on the Premier League table with 57 points out of 33 games. The only difference between Aston Villa and Manchester City is just 1 point difference. At the moment, the race for the top 5 for the European spot getting interested, and it's going to be a huge decider between Aston Villa and Manchester City. If any of these teams is going to make it to the Champions League spot, which is going to be among the top 5, I think this game is a must win for each of them. So Man City going to this game with a 2-0 victory in game 33 against Everton. Aston Villa also getting a 4-1 victory against a good side like Newcastle in game 33. I think this game could possibly end in favor of Aston Villa, but I will not be shocked if this game ends in a draw. My prediction for this game, I'm going for a 2-1 victory for Aston Villa. Aston Villa 2, Manchester City 1. Yes, so moving on to the next game at the Emirates Stadium is between Arsenal and Crystal Palace. At the moment, looking at Arsenal in game 33 got a 4-0 victory over Ipswich Town at the Portman Road. And going to this game, Crystal Palace too is coming from a 0-0 draw in game 33 against AFC Bournemouth. This game at the Emirates Stadium in game 34 is going to be an interesting game. Looking at Arsenal on the league table at the moment, they are second with 66 points. Talking about Crystal Palace at the moment, they are also 12th on the Premier League table with 44 points as it stands in game 33. Going into this game at the Emirates Stadium is going to be a crucial game for both teams. Crystal Palace in their recent games, they have been on some good run. Even though Arsenal could possibly win all their remaining games, there is no way I think Arsenal is going to win the Premier League over Liverpool. So going into this game, Arsenal at Emirates against Crystal Palace, I'm predicting this game to end in favor of Arsenal. I'm predicting Arsenal to get a 2-1 victory over Crystal Palace. Arsenal 2, Crystal Palace 1. Oh yes, moving on to the next game at the Stamford Bridge is between Chelsea and Everton. Chelsea going into this game, they are coming from a 2-1 victory against Fulham in the London Derby in game 33. And Everton too is coming from a 2-0 loss against Manchester City in game 33. At the moment, looking at Chelsea on the Premier League table, Chelsea is now 6th on the Premier League table with 57 points, and Everton too is now 13th on the Premier League table, 38 points as it stands in game 33. Going into this game at the Stamford Bridge is going to be a crucial game for Chelsea, a Champions League or European spot from the from the 7th position to the 2nd position. Is going to be a tight game. If any of these teams among this range drop points or even lose a game, I don't think it's going to be in favor of them again, because at the moment, each game looks like a final, and Chelsea going into this game against Everton, Chelsea can't afford to drop points or even lose this game against Everton. And this game coming on at the Stamford Bridge, I'm tipping Chelsea to get a win over Everton. My prediction for this game: Chelsea 2, Everton 0. Yes, moving on to the next game at the Amex Stadium, or the American Express Stadium, is between Brighton versus West Ham United. Brighton in game 33 got defeated by 4 goals to 2 against Brentford in game 33. And West Ham United too in game 33 also got a 1-1 draw against Southampton. Looking at both teams on the Premier League table at the moment, Brighton is now 10th on the Premier League table with 48 points out of 33 games. West Ham United too is now 17th on the Premier League table with just 36 points out of 33 games. And going into this game at the Amex Stadium in game 34 is going to be an interesting game. Both teams are just playing to get a mid-table position. And going into this game, I'm tipping Brighton to get a victory over West Ham United, because recent games, West Ham throughout the whole season, despite they sacked their coach and now Graham Potter, I still think there is something missing with this West Ham team. At the start of the season, I was tipping West Ham to be among the top 7 and even push and get European spot. But as it stands at the moment, I can't say that about West Ham United. So going into this game at the American Express Stadium, Brighton versus West Ham United, I'm taking Brighton to get a victory over West Ham United. My prediction for this game: Brighton 2, West Ham United 1. Oh yes, moving on to the next game at the St. James Park is between Newcastle United versus Ipswich Town. Looking in Gameweek 33, Newcastle United got defeated at the Villa Park by 4 goals to 1 against Aston Villa. And Ipswich Town also lost 4-0 against Arsenal at the Portman Road in game 33. Looking at both teams on the Premier League table at the moment, Newcastle United is now 4th on the Premier League table with 59 points as it stands in game 33. And Ipswich Town at the moment, they are also now 18th on the Premier League table with just 21 points out of 33 games in the Premier League. Going to this game at the St. James Park in game week 34 is going to be an interesting one, and it's a decider game for Newcastle United. Getting to the latter stage of the season, each game for Newcastle United is like a final. So if Newcastle still want to get a Champions League spot, I think this is a game that they can't afford to lose or even drop a point in this game against Ipswich Town. And Newcastle going into this game, my prediction, I'm tipping Newcastle United to get a win over Ipswich Town. But well, this game could possibly also end in a draw, because looking at one of the teams with the most draws in the league this season, aside Everton, I think Ipswich Town is one of the teams with the most draws. So this game could also possibly end in a draw. But well, I'm tipping Newcastle United to get a 3-1 victory over Ipswich Town. Newcastle United 3, Ipswich Town 1. Oh yes, moving on to the next game at the St. Mary's Stadium is between Southampton versus Fulham. Fulham in game 33 lost 2-1 at home to Chelsea in a London derby. And Southampton also got a 1-1 draw against West Ham United at the London Stadium. This game coming up in game 34, Southampton has been relegated, and next season they will be part in Championship. Both teams on the Premier League table. Fulham at the moment 9th on the Premier League table with 48 points out of 33 games in the Premier League. And talking about Southampton, who is at the bottom 20th on the league table with just 11 points out of 33 games. In this game, they could possibly earn a point against Fulham if they try hard. So going into this game, this is like a charity game for Southampton. They can decide to dash the points to Fulham, and they will just go and play and lose. For Fulham going to the St. Mary's, I'm predicting Fulham to get a 3-1 victory over Southampton. Fulham 3, Southampton 1. Yes, moving on to the next game at the Molineux Stadium is between Wolves versus Leicester City. Wolves in game 33 got a 1-0 victory over Manchester United at the Old Trafford Stadium, and Leicester City also lost 1-0 against Liverpool at the King Power Stadium at home to Liverpool in game 33. Looking at both teams at the moment, Wolves is now 13th on the Premier League table with just 38 points out of 33 games. City 2 is now 19th on the Premier League table with just 18 points out of 33 games. Going to this game at the Molineux Stadium in game 34, I'm tipping Wolves to get a victory over Leicester City. My prediction for this game, Wolves 2, Leicester City 1. Yes, moving on to the next game at the Vitality Stadium is between AFC Bournemouth versus Manchester United. AFC Bournemouth in game 33 got a 0-0 draw against Crystal Palace, and Manchester United also lost 1-0 at home to Wolves in game 33. Going to this game at the Vitality Stadium in game 34 is going to be an interesting game. Well, Manchester United at the weekend, who lost 1-0 to Wolves in their midweek game, which was the Europa game against Lyon, that they did a beautiful comeback and they won that game against Lyon. I thought United could have built some momentum from that game, but well, same old Manchester United, they will just win this game and disappoint you in the other game. So, going to this game at the Vitality Stadium, in the first leg of this game, AFC Bournemouth were able to beat Manchester United, and this game coming on at the Vitality Stadium, there is no way I think Man United is going to pick points at the Vitality Stadium against AFC Bournemouth. At the moment, they are 8th on the Premier League table with 49 points as it stands in game 33, and Manchester United is also 40th on the Premier League table with just 38 points out of 33 games. This is going to be an exciting encounter at the Vitality Stadium in game 34. My prediction for this game, I'm predicting this game to end in a 2-1 victory for AFC Bournemouth. Bournemouth to Manchester United 1. Moving on to the next game at Anfield is between Liverpool versus Tottenham Hotspurs. Looking at both teams as it stands, Liverpool is on top of the Premier League table with 79 points as it stands in game week 33. And talking about Tottenham Hotspurs, they are also 16th on the Premier League table with 36 points out of 33 games in the Premier League. In game week 33, Tottenham Hotspurs lost at home 2-1 to Nottingham Forest. And Liverpool also went to the King Power Stadium and they got a 1-0 victory over Leicester City. So going into this game, in game 34 at Anfield against Tottenham Hotspurs, I'm predicting Liverpool to get a 2-1 victory over Tottenham Hotspurs. Liverpool 2, Tottenham Hotspurs 1. Yes, moving on to the final game in game 34 at the City Ground is between Nottingham Forest versus Brentford. This is going to be an exciting and a crucial game for both teams. Looking at Nottingham Forest, in game week 33 got a 2-1 victory at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium over Tottenham Hotspurs, and Brentford 2 at home at the GT Community Stadium got a 4-2 victory over Brighton in game 33. Looking at both teams, at the moment, Nottingham Forest are third on the Premier League table with 60 points out of 33 games. Talking about Brentford, they are also now 11th on the Premier League table with 46 points out of 33 games. This is going to be an exciting and a decided game for Nottingham Forest in game 34. As it stands, Nottingham Forest, at the start of the season, I didn't predict them. I underrated them. I even thought they were going to struggle for survival. They're even competing for a Champions League spot. And if they probably win their next 2 games, I'm sure they are going to get a Champions League spot at the end of the season. Nottingham Forest hosting Brentford at the City Ground in game 34. Well, going into this game, the possibility of this game ending in a draw is very high. But well, I feel like tipping Nottingham Forest to get a win. To me, I also have another feeling that this game could possibly end in a draw. And well, I'm going for a draw. I'm predicting a 2-2 draw. Nottingham Forest to Brentford 2.